Put people on timeout? Why would you want to put people on timeout? Welcome back to the Jonny Shiell Detailing YouTube channel, guys, and I apologise for the background noise. We are live. This will be cut down and trimmed, but we're going to get stuck into it. So, back down here we have got a C63 Mercedes. Give you a little walk around, show you what we're working with. Meet and greet while people are waiting to join. We just stick the microphone on the top. That's better. How are you guys? It's been a while. It's been a little bit, isn't it? Thanks for subscribing, by the way. All the new subscribers. Oi, oi to the subscribers. So let me spin you around. If I can. That's better. So we've got a V8 bi-turbo C63 in for a cheeky little bonnet correction. We've got the bonnet all set up. We've got some machine polishes set up, and I'm here to answer a few little questions. So I've recently joined a group called the Car Boutique. Big shout out to the guys in the Car Boutique. It's a very nice, sociable group. I must say, it's a very good group. So one of the questions that came up in the comment section was from a guy called Supercharged Llama Detailing, and he was asking about hard paints, and he was talking specifically about I think it was an Audi, but Mercedes and Audi's paints are very, very similar. So shout out to the boys that are watching, first to Puerto Rico, and obviously Paul from Detailing Reviews. So let me spin you round. So we have got this lovely, lovely black paint, but it's got a few little marks, got a few little bits and pieces. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. Please let me know down in the comment sections if you can hear me all right, if the mic's working well, because that will help me a lot, saving me a lot of time and stress. So this is a 65 plate, and as you can tell, this has got the usual suspects on it. Now, for a car like this, which is a Mercedes, you're going to find that this is quite a lot of damage for this kind of car. It's quite hard. It's very, very, very hard paint. Very, very good, reliable, solid paint. And with these kind of cars, you'll do really well to scratch them. Being honest with you, you'll do really well to scratch them. But the marks we can see are obviously from the car wash. The unsafe wash, as we should call it, whereas the detailers and the valeters and the lovely guys that are grafted out there, we do safe washes. That includes a pre-wash, a snow foam, and then a contact wash. When all the dirt has been removed, we can then remove the last bit of traffic film. So what are we out here to do? We're out here to answer a question. We're out to answer a question for the one and only Supercharged Llama, and I'm out here for you guys to answer me any questions. If you've got anything you want to test me on, anything you want to ask any questions. I don't claim to know it all, but I know it all. I'm only joking, calm down people. So the question from the Supercharged Llama was this. It was, how do you work at what he was basically struggling to cut the vehicle, trying to get in deep. And we're going to go through a little bit of a process today. Now, one of the things I want to talk about first of all is the variables of detailing. We've got quite a few variables when it comes to machine polishing, and that is hand pressure, machine type, polish, compound, pad, speed, pressure, so many different things. We've also got the paint systems. We've got the temperature that's outside. All these variables are actually, I would class them as tools. We're going to use them as tools today to try and get this car back to a better standard on this bonnet. So bonnets are quite difficult, and especially the C63. Why is it so difficult? Well, because of the shape of it. Come and have a look at it a bit closer. Let me show you exactly what we're working with. So, big shout out to the Garage Therapy crew for the towels, loving the work. So what you're going to find is, when you're going to see from these angles, is the half moon shape. You see this nice little half moon shape. Now, trying to get a pad into these areas, if you've got a DA in your locker. Now, what's a DA? A DA is a random orbital, and that is where it will rotate and oscillate at the same time. And what it will do is on certain areas when it gets up to a high point or when the pad doesn't sit flat, it will stall out. Let me just give you one for an example. So this is a Flex XFE. This is the random orbital. And watch when I get up to the edges, watch how it will start to struggle and stall. See that? If I do this, it's going to start stalling, okay? Especially on areas like this. Just going to start to stall on the edges. So, what we don't want to use today on this car is the XFE. We've got the XCE. Now, what is the difference between an XFE and an XCE? The difference between the two is an XCE is gear driven. It's gear driven and it's only got an 8 to 10 millimeter throw. So if you're not unsure and you're a beginner on what throws are, throw is what happens around the edge of around the edge. As you can see it throwing. You see that where it goes blur? Now if you've got yourself a rotary, what a rotary will do is it'll just spin with no oscillation. Absolutely perfect. So we've got a few things to think about. We've got the curvature of the paint, got the curvature of size. If we was to lay this down, obviously as you can see I've got a 6-inch pad. I'm a bit of a 6-incher. I love this. Less throw, less aggressive. That's true. That's true in the random orbital, but not actually in the DAs and the rotaries. That's actually an opposite way round, funnily enough. But we won't go into that too much today. So as you can see, if I lay this down flat in the centre there, you're going to get a nice flat area, and that pad's going to turn nicely. Okay. A lot of you are fond of something when it comes to polishing that people tend to stick within the lines. And what are the lines? Well, a set of passes is normally a set of 4, and that is 1 up, 2 across, then the other way, and then back again. That's called a set of 4 passes, and that's classed as a set. Now, when it comes to a little bit of advanced polishing, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to break the rules. We're not going to be following this hot cross bun, basket weave kind of set motion. We're going to work with the panel. We're going to start thinking like we're sculptors. We're sculpting the panel. We're going to be working with its contours as if it was made out of clay. And we're going to work with it that way because it's the best way to get into these angles. Because if you watch White Details and those kind of channels, White Details tends to use a lot of random orbital machines. And when he's using those orbital machines, that means he's got to use a 1-inch on the edges, a 2-inch, a 3-inch, a 5-inch. And that's a lot of time, that's a lot of time consuming. So the question is today, how can we fix the time saving and how can we get around this car quicker? And how can we cut this car in the same thing how can we cut this car quite quickly but safely at the same time? Now, one of the things that's going to make it a lot safer is obviously understanding how clear coat works. Clear coat is a plastic kind of, I don't know the exact chemical makeup of clear coat. It's clear coat. It's a bit like a protective barrier that protects the paint to stop it from fading, basically. But it's almost like some sort of nylon plastic. Anyway, when you've got scratches on the vehicle, the one thing I wear on my head is a head torch, okay? And one of the things that we're going to try and get down to is obviously we're using this like a sandpaper. We're going to use these polishing pads, this compound, these kind of little things. We're going to use them to level the scratches. So we're not taking scratches out, we're actually reducing the clear coat down so we get to a point where the scratches then disappear. So watching the clear coat, watching what's going on, being aggressive is going to help us see where we're going to go to. Now, I have taken readers on this paint. We've got some very, very healthy paint on here. I've done a little bit of test sections. I've already know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm going to show you exactly today how I aggressively cut this car and finish it down in very, very quick succession. Let me stick you on a tripod. Let me get stuck in. I'm going to walk you through exactly these little processes of exactly how I cut hard paint on this car. Let's get stuck in. Hope you guys are still interested. Doobie-doobie-doo, doobie-doobie-doo. Supercharged Llama, hope you're enjoying this, mate, if you are watching. Let's get Physical, let's get physical. So, one of the things you're going to hear me talk a lot about when it comes to machine polishing is working in boxes. Now, what does that mean? Thanks, Puerto Rico, for updating us all. We'll keep that in mind. Appreciate that. So, we've got our panel in front of us. There we are. Hello, I'm under there. Working in boxes, what does it mean? Well, I want to show you exactly what working in boxes means. Now, when I'm cutting vehicles down, most people tend to work from the inside out. The reason why they work from the inside out is because they obviously want to work, so they're not leaning over the vehicle. But when it comes to cutting the paint up on this, you don't have to worry too much because you're going to have to refine it anyway to get rid of the haze. So when I cut, I start from the outside and I build a box. And when I'm refining, I start from the middle and work my way out. So I swap round halfway round. That's my process, that's my technique. Don't shoot the messenger, it's just how it works for me. So how it's going to work is I'm going to show you exactly what boxing means and what it does. So especially when I use the 6-inch pad, you're going to see. So if I work round the edge like a frame, so if this is my picture, this whole bonnet is my picture. If I pop some compound on this anyway, just for the sake of it, okay? Just pop some compound on here. So you've got 2, 2, 2, 2. I'm just going to go around now and just show you what 2 pad whips looks like on this bonnet, okay? I'm just going to stamp this on, okay? 2, 2, 2, 2, okay? 2, 2, 2, 2. It's starting to get a bit of an idea of what a 2 pad distance looks like, okay? And why I do it. I'm using some honey combination hard aggressive polishing compound. We've got a medium cut pad. So that's 2 pad widths around, okay? So that's 2 pads, 2 pads, 2 pads, 2 pads, 2 pads, all the way round. Now what you've got to see is all you've got left is just a tiny little box in the middle, which is only going to be 2 pads wide. So most of the important areas of the vehicle to paint and polish is going to be the edges. If you can get the edge work in, and this is when you work in, when you're cleaning a vehicle, build the edges first. Most of the areas that you'll miss when it comes to machine polishing vehicles is going to be your edge work. That's where detailers will always go to check on a training day, or when you're coming in for a little session with me. I'll always test you on your edge work because the edge work is going to make the dream work. So let's get stuck on this side first because I've already done a little bit on the other side. So we've got the Rupes wall pad. What I'm going to do, just going to blow this pad out for a second because there's quite a lot of compound on there. I don't need to saturate it, but I have marked out this panel now. So the pad's been primed, ready for action. I've been doing some machine polishing just to get a bit of a gauge. And what I was saying about test sections is I always make sure that every time I go on a vehicle, I cross-check it. Now this area here is showing in the high 160s, okay? Which is telling me that this area here has been blown in somehow. I didn't check the wing, but it just shows that this area here has had some paint. So I've got to be very, very careful of this. I'm going to show you my sectioning. We're going to steer away at the moment from the basket weave section. And we're going to go into much more working like we're working with clay. This is the XCE. Why am I using XCE? The XCE has an 8 to 10 millimeter throw. It has a little bit of throw so it doesn't create holograms. It has a forced rotation gear driven device so it doesn't stall. So it means it's a bit more designed for pro level work. So you can be more aggressive. You can work with it a bit better. You can manipulate it. It won't stall on you. So you can be very, very quick with it. And also it has that little bit of throw that actually cuts that little bit deeper than a rotary. You have to remember, a rotary just spins in a circle. When you add a rotary function gear to a little bit of oscillation, that oscillation is a bit like the waltzers at the fair. That little bit of oscillation is what's going to give you that extra cut. And for me, argue with me if you don't, if you want, but I've always found when I'm using the rotary compared to the forced rotation, this cuts better than a rotary. Head to head, will a rotary cut better? Yes. Head to head, a rotary will be stronger. But where this has the edge over the rotary is how it manages to keep down the panel temperatures. And if you've got a hot panel temperature using a rotary, it's like trying to polish water. It's moved, the clear coat has changed from a solid, and it's starting to get really hot, and it's starting to move a lot more, and it's going to be very hard to polish. Whereas if you've got an ice cube and you keep the panel cool, you've got this aggressive, really aggressive tool that actually draws the heat out of the panel down here through the exhaust system and out the back through the vents. You don't have those issues. You have all the hot air coming out of here, so you're able to work for longer. You don't have to be scared. The panel temperatures are cooler, which means we're going to chip away, so it's going to keep it like an ice block. That's why working in these temperatures right now, we've got a really nice cool panel temperature, we're out of the sunlight. All these variables are something that comes into working it, but as you get better at paint correction, these become just something that's natural. So let's get stuck in. Remember, we're working and this got a slope. I'm going to show you how we're going to get into these areas. Speed number 5 is another variable. Now just tilting up the machine polisher by about 5 or 6 degrees. So that means the back end of the machine polisher isn't touching. I'm going to, again, work in those boxes. I'm working up to the edge. The other variable we're going to be talking about is the actual speed of hand. Speed of hand is really important. Just keeping that speed of hand. Now, because I'm using the pad on the outside of the pad is like a cog on a bike. It has further to travel around compared to the middle. So the outer edge of a machine is always going to be a much safer way of using it. But remember, you are tilting the polisher up. So having that digging into the panel, make sure you're not pushing down too hard. Just allow the polisher to have the right weight, so you're not digging into the panel. And I'm just using my wrists. Just using my wrists. Just act like I'm now a robot. Like a machine. Now, one characteristic to be aware of with the Flex XCE, the force rotation, is that it rotates anti-clockwise. It doesn't rotate clockwise like the random orbital and the rotary. So that means that I'm being very aware of the direction. It's going across this way and back this way. So I'm being very mindful that the back of the pad isn't touching its edge, because if I was to do that, we could have some issues with it binding off the paint. So now I'm tilting off the back side. So I'm working the outer edges of this section first. Now I am going to be causing a little bit of DA-marring, and I'm going to be causing some haze, because I'm using this as this just to relate this to 1,000 grit sandpaper in polishing terms. This is heavy, it's aggressive. Even though this is a medium cut pad, this is not a medium cut compound. This is a heavy compound with a very hard machine with a little bit of pressure. So we're turning all these things up to the max, extra volume. So now I've got the machine tilted up slightly. As you'll see, the rotation is rotating this way. So this means I'm going up the edge. If I was to tilt it this way, I'm going down the edge, which is a problem. If you're working on edge work, you want to make sure, if you don't want to burn through paint, you want to make sure that this is always rotating up the edge, okay? Now we're quite lucky on this paint that The edges on this are quite rounded, so they're not too sharp. Obviously this is where the thinnest amount of paint is because it can't sit on here. It won't sit here. So obviously edge work is so easy to burn through. But when I'm running over an edge, there's no pressure on this. I've got my hand underneath and I'm just lightly running over. Still need to correct it. I'm just running over it. So, it's quite a long time on that for me. As you can see, the pad started to get matted. Now, one of the questions on the car boutique was, how do you minimise the matting and stuff? Well, most important part about this is when you're cleaning your pads, is what I use a tornador. And I just blow this pad out. So once I start getting into a bit of a rhythm with my polishing and correction, one of the things you won't see me doing is buffing off that polish. I know right now that this needs a lot more work. I know that this is hard paint. You know, if I was to wipe this off, can already see through. There's still marring in there. There's still a lot of scratches. So I don't really need to work this off. I am going to be using a little bit of a watering agent, so I've got a little bit of O&R. So I'm just going to literally spritz that on the panel, 2 puffs on my pad. And I'm just going to rub that back into the pad as I spilled it on myself. There we go. That's it. Get that nice and thing. There we go. So, without having to wipe off, when I first started polishing, one of the mistakes I made when it came to polishing was I would do like they do on the TV, on YouTube. I would polish a set, wipe it off, have a look, then I'd have to go and do it again. I'd do that all around the car. Now, if you... What I was doing is wasting so much time, because every time I did a section, I never got it perfect every first time, especially when I knew this was hard paint, it was quite aggressive. So instead of having to wipe it off, I decided to just, instead of wiping it off, go again. So we go again. I'm just gonna do this full time now. Slower hand speed, up to the edges, tilt it up so that this is running off the edge, not onto the edge, not striking the edge at all. Using the middle of the polisher. Any questions so far? Have we got any questions? You can talk to me, you can talk amongst yourself. You can argue with me, I don't mind. Keep it active. Or are you just enjoying this while you're watching your tea? Are you eating your tea? What if you're having your tea, what are you having for dinner? Let's dust this off, let's have a little look. Bring you guys in for a little noochie. Little scooch. Let's see what we're working with. I've got a little bit for you to come in a second, but I just wanted to make sure that we created more damage before we clean this all up. I just want to show you exactly what it is and to show you how aggressive this area is. So if you've ever seen wet sanding before, if you've ever seen any areas where it comes to sanding paint down before, you know that it goes a little flat. So using that compound connection, I've got the Honey Combination 1 Plus, which is a very, very strong cutting compound. It's the strongest one they do. It's a water-based product, which is fantastic. So it goes and goes and goes, and it's easy to buff off, which is great. It works really well with any water sprays as well, and it comes out your pads easily. And it's just nicer for the environment as well, to be fair. Very environmental. Let me see if I can bring you guys in. Every time I go live, guys, got to be honest, can I just talk to you about it for a second? Oops. Every time I go live, right, can't breathe, can't talk properly. Don't know what it was all about. I can't talk like a normal human being, it's hard work. Anybody who does YouTube, by the way, they know it's a difficult task. Right, there's the torch. Perfect time of night for this, by the way, absolutely epic. I'm just going to show you a little bit more when we spin it around. See what I was talking about, these 2 pad areas, right? And I've got that little box left in the middle. Because this is a water-based compound, this will work really well. So when you're going to come in now, what you're going to see, can you now see that there's like sanding marks in it? That's from overworking the polish, turning it really aggressive, but it's not going to be an issue. But I wanted to do that so I can show you. It's become a bit like a scouring pad. Now that's what happens, answer the question, when it comes down to not cleaning your pads well. That is what machine polishing marring looks like compared to just normal wash marring. Let's show you what normal wash marring looks like. Normal wash marring, okay? This is how you can identify the two, okay? Now I'm going to show you how to remove that in one quick step. Okay, so we've done 2 sets of cutting compound. There we go. I'm going to show you how quick that is to remove. Very, very, very easy, but it shows that I've leveled the paint well. That means that compound's working well. It might be, in some people's eyes, a little slightly too aggressive, but for me, it's leveled all the scratches. There's no scratches in there now. So now we're going to take a product by Cartec, which is Cartec 9000. This is their non-diminishing abrasive. Very, very good. And we're still sticking with the same pad. Now we've blown this pad out. Just going to do a good shake. So this would be now like my second set, right? My second set. Turn the speed down. It was on speed 5, but now on speed 3. And the fact that it's non-diminishing abrasive, it's got a non-diminishing abrasive, which means I can work this and work this and work this. It'll just keep going and going and going. It's got an amazing amount of gloss for this. It's fantastic. I could actually use this combination as a one-step. It's that good, it's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Less spider web, we'll always have the aggressive, yeah, absolutely, Humberto. Humberto says you'll always have that kind of marring when it comes to aggressive cutting. But my hand movement now, nice and fast, nice and smooth. A little bit more, as you can see, it's starting to mat up. So what I don't want is that pad to get all matted, because that's going to keep that abrasiveness. That's going to make it abrasive. A little bit of water on there. This is where the refining process is more important. I've cleaned that pad out now. I'm not going to add any more compound. The pad's a little bit wet. There's still going to be little bits of abrasive in there. That's just going to reignite that polish now. This is almost starting to I'm now priming the pad with the polish that's left on the vehicle. With that little bit of water. Trying to gloss it out. So this is almost the equivalent of a cut and polish, but it's not a refine. But I'm getting it closer to the refining process so that it makes my refining bit very bloody easy. Now for those out there that are wondering how long it takes to steam polish in a car, if you're a customer watching this is a great video to watch, because this is only one section and I've still got the whole car to do. So when we ask for your car for 3 to 4 days, you now know why. Nice fast hand speed, keep it moving. The ball pad is sucking up that polish. It's buffing out those scratches. As you can see, look, it's picked up all that polish. Fantastic. And now we're getting very close, much closer to a fantastic finish before we refine. Let me bring you in so you can see that. Where's the torch? There she is. A few little flicks and ticks still in there. Tiny little bit. That's created from the wall pad, but it's a lot better finish. It's a lot better. And when I go over that then with a refining pad, because obviously you've got to remember this is really hard paint, guys. So it's not gonna, I don't need to gloss it out. It's harder to cut and easy to refine, whereas soft paint is easy to cut and hard to refine. But look, you see there's not as much haze. We've got still little tick marks, but it's nowhere near as bad. So there you go. How do you cut paint really fast? Well, that's one of the fastest ways, and like I said, when you start seeing those machine marring marks and you start seeing those machine marring areas, don't be scared, don't be nervous, because that's part of the process. That's a byproduct of trying to cut the paint really hard. But there are some deep scratches in there that will obviously going to be too deep that I'm not going to be chasing them out today. But I'm going to work my way around the vehicle, on all the edges, work in the same areas. Like I said, if you've got any questions on this topic, feel free to hit them down in the comment section. If you've got a question you want answering, stick it down in the comment section and we'll try and get out here and answer these questions. Machine polishing is something I love to do. Like I said, it's not an exact science. There's no right way or no wrong way. Everyone has a different feel on how they hold the machine, how they use their compounds, what pads they use. There is no right or wrong answer in my opinion. The only right answer is obviously making sure that you get the pad, getting the paint to the level you want to get it to, and when you finish it down, that there's no scratches, no wash marring, and it looks super glossy and perfect to finish. That's what's going to get your customers happy. That's what's going to get you happy to get results, and that's what's going to get me happy in helping you achieve fantastic results. So I'm going to get stuck in. I appreciate you guys for coming to watch. I'm going to work my way around, all the way around the edges now, and I might jump on in a bit and show you how well it's finishing as an afterthought. So if you haven't already, click this video here for the end result. See you later.